Okay, next question. I'm struggling to allow myself to focus on one thing at a time. I have a voice in me that tells me that there are always more things to be done. The irony is that trying to do everything at once usually results in very little progress. That is true. Back to the question. I want to learn how to focus on just one thing without getting derailed by other projects and goals. So that's a great question. And generally when we have too many things that we're focusing on, it's easy for us to get derailed and not move forward in any one of those particular projects or goals. And so what you've learned here is exactly true. It's like multitasking is not something to be proud of. It's more like something that's going to hold you back in life. Okay, yes, you can have a cup of coffee and listen to a podcast at the same time, or you can listen to a podcast and go for a walk at the same time. That's all fine, sure. But if you have fitness goals, if it's for warm up, that's fine. But if you're doing specific kind of power walking and you're listening to a really sad podcast, now you're not maybe getting the cardio in that you need in order to reach your fitness goals because you're feeling so heavy with what you're listening to. So what we want to do is whatever it is that you are doing, that you're prioritizing the goals that are the most important in your life. There's this saying, you can do everything you want to do in your life. And whilst I don't believe in putting people down and telling people that they can't do stuff, whilst I'm all for the positive, we also need to understand that, we have the capacity to do what we want within the capacity that we have. So you can't go from, saying, oh yeah, I can do anything. I can be an astronaut. When in fact, if you have asthma, I don't know if astronauts can be astronauts if they have asthma, but let's just say you have emphysema. You're probably not going to be an astronaut with the emphysema. So you need to kind of understand that, yes, you can work towards becoming healthy and then becoming an astronaut if that's what you want to do. But just being delusional about what you can and can't do in a moment forces you to kind of drive to do all these different things, to try and control, to try and show that you are actually worthy of whatever you think that reaching that goal will prove. So we want to make sure that we're keeping it real, keeping it 100, making sure that we're saying, okay, you know what? Actually, this year I won't be able to compete, in my discipline if I don't focus on doing the power walking only when I'm doing the power walking. So you need to understand how things relate to, like, what leads to what leads to what. And when you can do that and you can say, it's okay for me to focus on one thing at a time, for me to just focusing on one thing at a time doesn't make me a bad person, it doesn't say anything about my value as a person or worth as a person, then you give yourself a permission to focus on just one thing at a time. And as you said, when you're focusing on so many different things, you just don't make progress on anything. And it's true. It's true, because your focus is jumping from one to the other. And I'm sure we all know how difficult, when you're deep in thought, how difficult it can be to take your attention away from this topic and go here. So give yourself a chance by prioritizing what your goals are, then expressing your goals to people around you so that they can support your goals and not try and drag you into different directions, and then own the goals and go for them. Schedule them into your diary, make sure that you're doing those things. So this is a really great question. We often think that if we're not doing everything, that we're worth nothing. But in fact, if we do everything, we don't actually get anything done. So your worth is actually maximized. You showing that you have worth is to maximize, is to prioritize what is really important to you, own it, and then go for that one thing. Life is interesting. Something I've noticed over the years is that the more I focus on one thing, the sooner it'll be done. And I'm like a serial entrepreneur, which means that I have I have only 10 fingers, and I can't even tell you how many pies those fingers are in. And I don't recommend it, okay? Focus on no more than 3 major things in your life, be that health, have a health goal, have a relationship goal, have a finance goal or vocational goal. So you could also say health, purpose, relationships. So whatever you're feeling like you're not really, that's holding you back, that's causing you most stress right now in life. If it's finances, focus on finances. If it's relationships, focus on relationships. If it's your health, focus on your health. But don't focus on more than 3 things at the same time. Because, or if you do, then accept that you won't get those things done perfectly. Because if you expect perfectionism when you're setting you're basically shooting yourself in the foot by saying I should be able to do everything, because you won't be able to do everything straight away. You can prioritize and get things done over some years. You're not only shooting yourself in the foot and not getting the goal done, but you will always feel a lot worse about yourself having failed, having been a failure in those things. Okay? So focus on no more than 3 things in your life at any given time.